welcome to the Sugar and Spikes podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs, side hustlers, and anyone ready to uplevel their career in their own damn way. I'm Des. I'm a life coach for women who get that having it all sometimes means having to balance the good and the bad, the sugar and the spikes, and all the in-between.
And I'm Tammy. I'm a therapist, and I'm all about helping as many people as possible to build awareness and make meaningful changes in their lives. I'm also dedicated to diversity and inclusion and increasing access to mental health care.
Between the two of us, we have 4 master's degrees and thousands of hours helping people develop balance, confidence, and clarity on their terms. So let's get started. All right, and we're going. Hi, everyone. Okay, so this is really big because this is our first recording since I'm getting back from Ireland.
I know. I feel like you've been gone forever.
And, okay, so I kind of feel like we should have just been recording for, like, the last 5 hours that we've seen each other.
I know, it's so true.
But, okay, I'm back. And
Yay!
we're back, and we're more excited than ever because while I was gone, some super big things happened. Our listenership has gone up so much, and we started getting reviews. Guys, thank you so much for the reviews that you're leaving, like whether or not it's stars or feedback. That means so much to us. And if you haven't, then maybe after this episode, if this is the first time you're listening, go ahead and do that.
I just love knowing that, like, our audience really connects with what we're saying and, like, is meaningful to them.
Yeah. Fabulous.
I know.
So glad that we're getting the positive feedback, and I'm going to throw it out there. If there are topics that you guys want us to address, please let us know. I'm Des W Ms MBA on like all the social media, super easy to get to. And
or they could post it in the group.
Yeah, or you can post it in the Sugar and Spikes Society group on Facebook. We're totally flipping everything around. This is everything that should be at the end.
I know.
Anyways.
It's okay.
Fix it okay. In post. So as you can tell, we're very excited. I'm Des. I'm a life coach, as you heard in our intro. And I'm
Tammy. I'm a therapist.
Yes. And today's topic we're kind of elaborating on a Bustle feature that I did.
Yeah.
So Karina Wolf with Bustle, lovely gal. She actually runs a really awesome Kale Yeah blog. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
She's
I love it.
fabulous.
Okay.
So she reached out and was asking about some thoughts that I had on life changes, transitions, all of those things that make us uncertain, and like how do we navigate that stuff?
Yeah, like big decisions that you can just go for.
Yeah, and so I was working on that, and I will say, spoiler, I'm not sure when it's going to be out, but she actually reached out about another Bustle feature that's coming up soon. But yeah, so the life changes one is something where she did a fabulous job covering it. Like, no tea, no shade. Great article. It'll be in the show notes.
Yeah.
But I mean, the one thing that made me sad was Tammy didn't have her input.
Yeah.
And like you didn't really get like the full like flow and vibe of everything. So today we're going with life decisions part D.
Yes.
The Redux.
Well, I mean, I was thinking about life decisions, and you and I have talked about this before, and like, how do you know when it's okay to just kind of go for something? Because I think we all get into this habit of, if it's a big decision, I know that I have done this, I know you have too, is that you kind of wait for the thing that's going to tell you like to go for it.
Yeah, so honestly, and this is going to sound really weird, and I don't want to sound like 2 steps removed from it,
No.
But like there was a time, maybe it was either a year ago or when I dropped out of the PsyD, where I stopped looking for the signs and was just like, fuck it, what's going to happen is going to happen. So this whole idea of like searching and stuff is something that like I know happens, and is why I'm super glad that I'm not a therapist, and I can just be like, just fucking do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Just
you
go.
You know how I feel about just statements. Sorry,
yeah.
Nikki. I love you. So one thing that I like to talk about with clients is this idea of there's not necessarily right or wrong decisions. There's more effective, less effective decisions. I kind of like to frame it that way. Or it's really about leading you down different paths.
Right.
So like, you don't really know. There's, even if you could go into the future and see this is the outcome of the decision that I made, it may not be like a right or wrong. It's not that binary. It's not that simple. So it can lead you down different paths that may or may not be paths that you like and may or may not have the results you expected.
Right.
Right. But it doesn't make it a right or necessarily a wrong decision.
Well, and I definitely feel like I'm jumping the gun here. Okay. But I think like on top of that, and this is where like a bit of like the spirituality piece comes into play. You're going to end up where you're meant to end up because like, I mean, not to use you an example, but not to use you as an example, but I look at you and like when you started grad school and it was, I'm working with vets and I'm doing all of these things and like you had your path like laser focused and even like staying the course and getting the degree and all of those things, like doing all the things that theoretically would be done to get to that end, the universe still stepped in and was like, here are these experiences, here are these new passions, here I'm gonna like open your eyes and bring you into another like course of practice and everything. So I feel like one thing is we put so much weight on, well, what I choose is going to be the end all be all for stuff. And it's like, if it's meant to happen, it's going to end up happening. Like you're still going to make like not the right moves, but you're still going to take the steps to get you where you need to be, and the universe is going to intervene.
Yeah, I mean, the universe has your back, and I think that that's a really good example because one of the things that they told us kind of consistently in grad school is be open. You might have a path in mind, but really you don't know what you don't know. So like I might be like, I'll never work with kids, and I have this idea that I won't like it. And then I've had the opportunity to do it this year, and I actually do like it. I like working with teens, which is something that I didn't think I would enjoy.
Yeah.
And so if you are open to those experiences, I could have seen that as like a wrong decision. Like, oh, this was the worst decision ever. I'm working with kids, and this wasn't something that was really in my plan. But if you open yourself up to it, and the thing that I really wanted to talk about today, like curiosity, like curious about what the experience will be like rather than
what are you hoping to get out of things?
Yeah. Or just what will this experience be like? Like, oh, I never really imagined so instead of saying, oh, I just didn't want to work with kids, saying, you know, I really didn't see myself working with kids. I wonder what this experience is going to be like. I wonder what I can learn from it. I wonder what I'll learn about myself.
So I guess point of reference as we kind of like move on, are we talking about navigating decisions, or are we talking about something's like a decision has been made, and are we talking about choosing or a choice has been made and we're going forward?
I think either way. Okay. I think you can use it as a basis of making decision, like making choices, or sometimes when the choice, you feel like the choice has been taken away from you, you can still approach both of those things with this sense of curiosity.
Yes.
Right? I know you and I were talking about like in regards to being a parent. There is almost never a perfect time to say, let's do parenting.
I really want to know what the end goal is people think there is with being a parent.
It's just to see what one thing that I realized because I'm a parent is that I feel like sometimes we miss out on the fact that we want to know what the experience is going to be like. It may not be the best at times. It may be hard. It may be difficult, whatever you choose, if it's parenting in this example. But I know what the experience is like. I wanted to have the experience rather than getting to this end goal. Like, okay, I have kids now, like time to move on to the next thing. But seeing what that's been like and the ups and downs of navigating through that, that's what that decision is all about.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like having a child is right or wrong, good or bad, effective, less effective. It's about, I really want to experience parenthood, so I'm going to go for it. And that's what I'm going to do.
Well, and like that just ties so much into this cultural thing of like getting from point A to point B as fast as possible, no matter what. Like, the only thing that matters is the end result, and we're done. It's black or white. It's the experience. Like, yes, like it's all of the middle ground and the messiness, and you've come out of it learning things and with stories.
Yeah. So like I think about the doing mind and the being mind, not to make this all like whatever. But I think about that, right? The doing mind is all about accomplishing tasks and getting things done and accomplishing goals.
Type A. Very type A.
Very type A. And the being mind is all about the experience, being in the moment, like seeing what things are like. And I feel like we make decisions as type A people sometimes when really we need to be more like, what has this experience been like for me? And kind of more process focused.
So this is very much a side note, but something I think is really interesting.
Okay.
When I was in undergrad, there was like a series of articles that came out about like what to do with extra money. And it was like the one thing that really like stands out in my mind is like, if you have $2,000, what's better, like buying a new couch or going on a road trip? And the research, because apparently there's research around this, of course.
Who would have thought?
It boils down to traveling is better than buying shit. Because you end up with the experiences, and your mind like does this weird thing of like making everything look like it's worked out for the better because your mind wants to protect itself.
Yes.
So like all of your travels and stuff, you're gonna end up looking back and being like, that was really good, even when it wasn't. And like, point of reference, my New York trip, like my very first New York trip with Dean was not good.
Yes.
But like I look back on like us fighting in the streets of New York, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was fun. Whereas if you buy something for like essentially an immediate end result, so like a couch because it updates your living room, like you're going to start picking apart things that are a constant in your life. Like, well, this isn't super comfortable and it doesn't really go with this and blah, 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 blah.
Well, I think comparison really sets in at that point too, right? Like I could have had a nicer couch, or I could have had a less nice couch and done XYZ with the rest of the money. Like it just becomes a sense of like comparison.
Well, and speaking of someone that just furnished a house about 6 months ago, like I have all the furniture that I love, and I'm seeing these ads on TV where it's like, get this for 60% off. And I'm like, I should have waited.
Like,
so like, it's one example essentially of the research really supporting that it doesn't feel like you have much to show in terms of experiences. Like we're not trained, we're not brought up to appreciate experiences for what they are.
Yeah.
And the research is showing that's what's going to lead to like more of a happier life.
Yeah, because you get change of viewpoint, you get growth. Like even painful experiences can create growth.
Yeah.
And you get something out of it you didn't expect.
And you become a different person, like even through the painful experiences.
Yeah. I think about, totally random, this was not a painful experience, but I think about driving out here. And I think of that one hotel we stayed in.
I'm sorry, driving out here from Oregon to Indiana was a painful experience.
I don't remember it as a painful experience. I remember that one hotel that was just so gross.
You and I came out of it as not a painful experience. I feel like everyone else.
It was super painful.
But that's what I'm like. I explicitly remember being like, this is awful. And I remember my eyes hurting so bad and everything. Like, objectively speaking, I remember that happened. But looking back now, it wasn't so bad. It wasn't
that bad.
Even though I feel like we both explicitly were like, never again.
Right? And I also remember, like, the next hotel after that terrible hotel, I'm like, oh, the universe looked out for us because it was actually really lovely.
But the ridiculous thing was, so like this is kind of a long side story. I was supposed to stay in Tammy's room for like most of the nights and everything, but I couldn't sleep because I had the dog and so many external things. And I like, by the time we got to this one city, I was like, I'm just gonna get my own room. I appreciate you paying for other things, but I need to sleep or else I'm going to slaughter people.
Yes.
And then it was a room where there were like, I counted, there were like 5 different colors of stains in the tub.
So
and I
gross.
killed 2 huge spiders in the room. And I was like, this is when I decide to, this is when I decide to get my own room.
I know. I remember. I just was like, I was excited to stay in that town too because I had been there before, and I was like,
you were like, it's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. Everyone's gonna love it, and everybody was like, this place is a dump.
I will say we're being very careful. I'm not saying the town.
I know, because it is lovely. And we ended up in Des Moines our last night. I can say this because the hotel was lovely.
It was fine.
And it was fine. And I was like, okay, so the universe is making up for the fact that they put us in that crap hole. Oh my goodness. So, but that's just
all this is to say
that you can learn things from those experiences, and you can look back on them and be like, okay, well, that hotel really wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it actually coming out here, I think, you know, we learn things along the way about how we can all travel together in giant caravans of people and how we can negotiate and be flexible and accomplish things as a team when we're kind of broken up into separate things. And
it teaches you, like it taught us to not rely on so many like possessions and stuff.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true because the stuff got here behind us.
Yeah.
So there were like 6 or 7 of us here with 3 dogs and no furniture, no blankets, no nothing. Yeah, but it teaches, so you can learn things from this. This is a really long tangent to say you can learn things like we learned how to be flexible and we learned how to negotiate when things are tough and, you know, when we don't necessarily have all the things we need and how are we going to make that happen. And I think we all did a really good job of doing that.
And it comes down to flexibility, right? Right. And one thing that I noticed as we were going through that was we both kind of automatically went to, well, we're safe and we're going to get food. And like, we really reverted to this like sense of gratitude and focus on what was important.
Yeah, well, and that was our other main thing we were going to talk about. So,
hey guys, Des here, popping in with a quick message. Have you been feeling really fucking stressed and not able to focus on the things you've got to do? I get it, we've all been there. That's why I made a totally free video training with 3 quick and easy tricks to chill out and be present so you can get shit done. So go to DesireeW.com and click on Slay Your Stress to get the training, because you've got better things to do than be stressed.
Curiosity about experiences and gratitude, being grateful for the little things. I think that is a perfect example. Like, we were just like, you know what? We're going to get food. Everyone's going to have food. We're all here. We're all safe. We have heat. We have air conditioning. We'll go to, there's a Target down the street. We will go buy blankets. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
And we're all here and healthy and safe, and we made it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think that sometimes we can forget to be grateful. I think it's easy.
It really, it is. So I went through something, and I've talked about this before on the podcast where kind of my morning routine is I do a gratitude list. But recently when I was in Ireland, my morning, like I didn't have a morning routine and I wasn't doing the gratitude things. Like I was definitely in a state of like, I'm really glad I'm here.
Yeah.
And looking back, like it was a bigger like retrospective or reflection.
Sure.
But I wasn't doing like the check-in on things, and I don't want to say it made me like upset or anything, but what was really interesting was I found myself feeling a bit disconnected from everything. And then I was reading an article very recently, like since I've been back, and I've been back less than a week. I was reading an article, and it's like the research just so strongly shows that gratitude is one of the biggest indicators of like happiness and biggest reductions in depression and all of these things. And it's just, it feels stupid. And back in the day, like maybe 6 months ago, back in the day, I was really aiming for like maybe 10 things, maybe 15 things. But since I've been back, I kind of automatically went to a page worth of stuff. And it's been hard, but one thing that I have found is like, even if so I'll start with like bigger, interesting things that come first to mind. And then I'll be like, shit, what else? I still have like 3/4 of a page. And then I'm like, I'm thankful I can write words right now. I'm thankful I can read. But then that like flows into so many other things.
Yeah.
And then it's, okay, now I'm feeling good.
Yeah. I mean, what you said about the research saying it's like this whole move towards positive psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times with therapy and even with coaching, it can be this focus on fixing, this focus on reparative work, when really positive psychology kind of flips that and says, okay, so all this stuff is happening and what are you grateful for? And when you can start to identify those things like 3 gratitudes per day for a week, that you'll notice a reduction in distress and an increase in positive feelings. So that's what you were talking about, because I thought of that too. And I'm like, oh yeah, you should talk about it first. And so the other thing I like about what you said is doing gratitude lists helps you to think more deeply about your life and to have a little bit more reflection about, rather than here are the goals I'm trying to get to, what are the things I have right now that are great?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and even just in terms of goals and stuff, like so often society feeds us it's the next level. Like you have to continue to move forward and do all these things, which like upping your game is fine. And as I go through my gratitude list in the morning, like I swear to God, like 9 out of 10 times right now, like we're in winter right now. As I'm going through my gratitude list, the heater will come on. And I'm like, I'm so thankful for central heating. And I'm thankful for my house and the fact that it works. And then like my brain goes into, well, what do I need to do to keep that up?
Yeah.
You know, like if you're thankful for the situation you're in, keeping it up becomes much more empowering than, well, I need a brand new house.
Yeah.
You know, like because you're in the state of I have this and I'm keeping it versus, well, I'm in the state of lack and I need to get to wherever, like, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I was thinking about the heat thing. My last house didn't have heat. So I was like so thankful for heat. I'm like, yes, heat. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, this is where you go back to, it's all about the and, right? Yes, and I have all these dreams and goals, and I appreciate my life how it is right now. So it's embracing those two things. So the future focus and appreciation of the now.
Right.
And so that's what I was thinking of as you were talking. And that's something that you and I talk about a lot. That's kind of our whole philosophy.
Right.
So I think that really, I'm moving my hand and you can't see me because it's a podcast. But
I meant to video this. Guys, we're starting a YouTube channel eventually.
But embracing that and piece, like, yes, I'm not where I need to be or where I'm trying to get to, or I haven't achieved the things that I was hoping for up to this point. And I'm super grateful for XYZ.
Yes. And that that really shows you how far you've come.
Yeah.
Because, like, in our business, like, we've had areas of tremendous growth.
Tremendous. Absolutely.
Like, fabulous growth, and other areas where it hasn't been what we've wanted. And it's just like, okay, we missed those marks. And here's everything that, like, we couldn't have dreamt of doing. Yeah. And we've done this.
Yeah.
So I think gratitude and looking back on, like, your capabilities and stuff, like, that's where I'm going to make a big statement.
Okay. I'm ready.
That's where sustainability starts.
Yeah. That's true. Because taking stock, the check in the rear view, sometimes I'll use a car metaphor, is what helps you to say, I'm not at the beginning, and maybe I'm not to where I'm trying to get to, but I'm definitely not at square one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what you said is it goes back to the decisions that we've made along the way haven't been right or wrong, good or bad. No. It's just had tremendous results in some areas and some other areas where we were like, okay, we've learned from that and we're going to make this other decision as a result of that. So it's this consistent like branching of decision-making trees that kind of is infinite. And it's not like, this way bad, go back, go back, go back.
Right.
But like these big flashing signs, it's just like, okay, I need to adjust because this is not having the outcomes that I had hoped.
Yeah.
But I learned this amazing thing from this.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I've really started to think about it in terms of its feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's feedback from the universe for what you're doing. And do I like that feedback? Do I not like that feedback? I don't like that feedback. Okay, thanks for the feedback. Like, that was something we learned in grad school.
Yeah,
Thanks for the feedback. And where do we go from here?
Yeah.
You know? And even in grad school, like, in fucking, like, Counseling 101, I forget what the actual name was.
I can't remember. Too long ago.
Yeah, but in that class, it was, and you had those moments where it was thanks for the feedback. And as a student, it's, am I going to keep doing what I was doing or am I going to shift?
Right? Oh, so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for the feedback, or that's great feedback. I'll look into that.
Yeah. And that's, I feel like when things start coming up or you start getting the results that you weren't expecting or weren't hoping for, that's the perspective to take, is this feedback isn't right. Or even if it's things you were hoping for, great, this is amazing feedback, I'm going to keep like, it's so much a conversation between your actions and what happens.
Yeah, and it's not like it's good or bad
Yeah.
feedback. It's just sometimes when we don't get the results we hope or things didn't go the way we wanted, that's tough feedback to hear, right? When somebody says, I'm not achieving the results that I expected, okay, that's difficult to hear and it's a difficult thing to experience, but that doesn't make it bad feedback.
Yeah.
That's why I prefer not to call it negative feedback. I call it corrective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you start getting results that you weren't really wanting, one thing that I do with clients is I say, okay, well, what were like the easier parts? Like what things came naturally and what things were kind of harder to do. And we start to kind of problem solve around those pieces and then shift efforts.
Yeah. So I do a kind of similar thing. I'll say like, well, what did you learn?
Yeah.
What about this so you doesn't feel good? Okay, how can we move it more in line with what does feel good?
Yeah.
But the thing is, the thing that makes it really difficult is you don't know until you do it.
Exactly.
Right? So like you could have the best decision, business plan, problem solving plan, whatever you want to call it. And you do it and it doesn't work out the way you want. Okay, what adjustments do I have to make now to get me back in line with my goals? But I learned from doing that.
Yes.
That these things aren't going to work the way I expected. So, I have to do this thing I didn't think about or do it in this way I didn't think about. And you really learn and then you can accomplish something.
So that made me think, like, so often I will get emails or messages or just things from like groups and stuff where it's folks that are starting their entrepreneurial journey and they're like, what do I focus on? And I like, all I can say is start with what feels good, then continue focusing on what still feels good. Because when you start, it's going to be like a little thing here, a little thing there, and you're going to like you're going to play around, right? You're going to try out all the things. I think with us, like, we tried so many things and we were kind of everywhere and had, like, a year of split focus on, like, 7 different things, right?
Yep.
And then after getting feedback and everything, it was like, well, this is what really works. And we started noticing what felt right and what came naturally and started refining it. Yeah. And I think there's this idea of like, well, I need to have like this layers of focus. And like, I'm calling bullshit on that.
It's just all about managing ambiguity.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought about that. I'm like, this could just be called lessons from grad school.
Well, and it's also like learning to play. Like, there's this idea that life is so serious.
True.
And like, very few things are actually going to fuck up your life. Like, Coke, like, crack's gonna fuck up your life.
We shouldn't be laughing. That's a very serious matter, but I just wasn't expecting that. Okay. But yes, no, like, there are some decisions that are going to
like,
have some very real consequences.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But besides that,
play around.
Play with it.
Yeah, like, I thought about when you're like, where do I start? Well, you kind of just pick something and start there. And it really is about managing uncertainty, which is hard to do. Don't get me wrong. It is like constant journey to learn how to do that. Yeah. That's what makes change so hard. That's what makes starting things so hard. You're like, well, what if this happens? What if this happens?
And what if this?
And to that I say,
most of the time it won't.
Well, no, it might.
Yeah.
But what you have now you made me lose.
I'm sorry.
We're a little all over the place today.
What you say to that is... Oh, I was paving the way.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. It's totally gone. I don't remember. Keep talking.
Shit, I forgot what we were talking about.
Me too. It's okay. We'll fix it. What were you saying?
Crack can fuck up your life. So, guys, don't do crack.
Okay, we can agree on that.
But no, it's this idea of playing, and you think that, well, if I do this, then X, Y, and Z is going to happen.
Oh, I remember. Thank you. You're trying to problem solve things that haven't happened yet. And you can't solve them because they haven't happened.
Yes.
So, it's like... what am I going to do? So you have to come back. That's the mindfulness.
Yes.
Is the mindfulness piece of coming back and say, okay, let's not problem solve all the things that haven't happened. Let's do the thing and see what does happen and then problem solve that.
Yes. And so I was talking with someone a while ago, and this is more like interpersonal stuff, but he kind of called me on it. Because I was like, well, I did this because, and he was like, well, is it because you thought I was going to say X, Y, and Z? And I was like, yes. And he was like, don't do that. That wastes so much energy if you're spending all of your time thinking about what someone else is going to say when you have no idea.
Yeah, you're trying to like problem solve and you're trying to like steer the conversation. Like, I'm not going to say this because they'll probably say this. And then I'm going to say this because I want them to say this. But like, that doesn't work.
And here's the thing. Here's one of the most golden tips I've ever heard that has gotten me through so much.
Okay.
If you've gotten to that point or that experience or that situation, if you've gotten there, which you're there, so you clearly have,
right?
Then you have all of the skill and ability to navigate it.
Yes. Oh, that's so strengths-based. I love it.
Yes, like, if you're there, like, whatever situation you're in, if you're in the situation, you have everything you need to navigate it.
Yes. Even if that means accessing support to help you navigate it. You're like, you have enough awareness to say, I need some help here.
Or I need a minute.
Yeah.
Let me think about that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. Yes.
On that note,
I think we should stop there.
Yes. Okay. If you like what we're doing, leave us a rating or review. Find us at the Sugar and Spice Society in the Facebook groups. And I'm DesireeW.com. Or you guys can also go to sugarandspikeslife.com. And that'll take you to all the things that you need. So that's all for this week.
All right, take care, everybody.
Bye.
That wraps up this episode of the Sugar and Spikes podcast. Thanks so much for listening. We'd also like to thank Forget the Whale for use of their song Move Along as our theme music. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and let the whole world know how good this shit is by leaving a review. It would mean so much. Also, don't forget to get your free Stress Slayer training by going to DesireeW.com and clicking on Slay Your Stress. You'll also find a link to that in the show notes below. Till next time, and remember to stay unavailable for fuckery.